Hello, and welcome to API as a Product with me, Rob Prince, Principal Engineer from Just Eat Takeaway from the Strategy and Architecture Department. So let's see what we're going to be going through today. It's loosely based on Everything Everywhere All at Once, a great Oscar-winning film that I hope you've watched. So this is what we'll be going through, imagining the future. And we're going to talk about where we could get to, and then we're going to talk about pragmatic strategies about how to get there and get this everything everywhere all at once. So first of all, let's talk about the future, and let's think about where your platform could be. So first of all, you've got everything. You've got everything. You've got many extensible products across thousands of partners, businesses, and you're constantly providing customers with delight. So you're providing everything that your customer needs. And then it's everywhere. It's not only in one country, it's in multiple countries, but you're building that software once and you're releasing it to everywhere, into multiple regions. It's all countries, all different apps, unified experience, brought to many different consumer and partner platforms. And not only is it everything and everywhere, it's all at once. The system is in harmony, it's fulfilling requests, it's scaling, and it's available to all. So everyone is constantly up and there's no downtime. Isn't that a good place to be for your platform? So this is maybe what it looks like. And if we take this diagram here, your platform today, if we abstract it and just look at it as user journeys, we can see that you might have, say, that 9 user journeys: customer orders a delivery, customer tracks an order, partner receives an order. These are reasonable things that your kind of e-commerce platform or enterprise business might have. And then these orange boxes are the applications that you use to utilize them and bring them to your customers. So you've got iOS and Android, fulfillment apps and POS integrations, right? Now, this is great, and this is great for you as an internal business. But wouldn't it be better if you got to the everything, everywhere, all at once type state, where you see these green boxes? Now, these are integrations of third parties that are coming in and utilizing these same user flows. And these dark green boxes are things that we haven't even thought of yet. Yeah, so we might have these ideas of partners who we might want to work with, like Tesla or personnel integrations or drone integrations. But the great thing about getting into the everything everywhere all at once state is that there's things that people will be able to do to your platform or with your platform that you never knew. But the important thing is really working on your platform. It's not concentrating on the integrations or your apps. It's really how do you get these user flows from your platform out to people in order for them to integrate, and how do you organize this information to get there? So we're going to talk about that. And maybe the future will be that if you get it right, you've got more and more integrations, and more and more and more and more integrations, and even more, thousands of different integrations. And then you really, truly have hit the everything, everywhere, all at once state. So that was imagining the future. So let's talk about, well, how can we get there? So there's 3 things that I think that we need to do. We need to identify the right and the right sized microservices. So we'll talk about the right type of microservices. So this is organizing microservices around business capabilities. So we'll go in and talk about pragmatically, what does that actually mean? And then we'll talk about the right size. So what's too big, what's too small, what's just right? Because you can, depending on how you size your microservices, might have a really big impact on how your product is successful or not. And then once you've got those things, we can start identifying our API as a product. So we're using it from existing products, from your existing workflows. No special internal APIs, just APIs, just your platform's APIs. And we'll be able to arrange them using what we learned about the microservices into API products and into those user flows that we were talking about right at the beginning. And then once we've got that, we're going to be talking about making API as a product website and really selling it to people. And potentially this is your new business revenue stream. So let's just remind ourselves about microservices. And let's remind ourselves that it's actually an architectural style. And if you look up on Wiki, it says that they are four things need to hold in this architectural style in order to make it a collection of software services. So owned by a small team, independently deployable, loosely coupled, and organized around business capabilities. So you've got teams that develop and deploy their services independently. There's a reduction of dependencies on other teams, clear business purpose, quick time to market, right? Now, this is all rather good, but what is the badge that everyone spends less time thinking about, but probably should spend more time thinking about? It's this one. It's organized around business capabilities. So people talk a lot about the technologies behind the microservices, but they don't concentrate as much as they should around, is this the right thing for my business? And are we actually building the things that the business needs? Not, are we using the right technologies for our tech department? So let's go on to talk about how do we first of all get the right size microservices, right? So we'll go on to talk about the right microservices and the business and process models in a minute. But if we pick something that's too big for our microservice boundaries, then it doesn't really solve you much bigger than where you were with, say, like a monolith. You've got some really big kind of microservices. It's called a macro services. And yes, you might have like a symbolic kind of messaging layer or so, but they're still too big, and they're still like kind of distributed monolith, or too big, big monolith, right? And it hasn't really solved the nimbleness that you need as an enterprise. Let's look at too small. So here we have lots of almost like nano services, where each of these microservices are now doing a very specific thing. So let's take, for example, something like a partner service, where like manage partner information. And each one of these services here is, you've got a update partner and a create new partner service, and they all carry their own little infrastructure weight, and it's confusing about like how things interact, and they're all owned by different teams. Or we could get it just right, like the right size, where we've actually got microservices that are based around capabilities, that are organized around business capabilities, and they share a lot of related functionality together, and they're less complex because of that, and they have a lot less weight inside the system in terms of their infrastructure. And it's intuitive how the system works, because once we start explaining that to non-technical people about the capabilities we have, suddenly the kind of tech stack and stuff fades away. So this is really the right size, is where we get to this kind of capability level, where like something like manage partner information or manage partner availability or something like that, where it's a lot of related functionality together in a great little closed box. We'll go on to talk about that in a minute. So let's look at now the right microservices. So I've talked about organizing around business capability. So a good place to start, if you want to do this, is by getting a off-the-shelf business process model and adapting it. So there's organizations like APQC, where you can get this kind of off-the-shelf model, which tells you exactly how to run your entire business, an entire operating model, from HR to marketing to sales. Yeah. Now, in P&T or your product and tech department, or you might not care about the HR side and the marketing side. You want to care about the processes, the business processes that you've decided to build software for, that you actually have tech, and you pay tech teams to make tech and maintain them, right? Now, once you've got those collection of processes, you might give them different name, or more palatable names than that come straight off the shelf. But then you can do this really clever thing, where you take the tech, all the tech that you own, say it's thousands of components, and you can start putting the tech into those business processes box, right? So this piece of tech is to do with manage partner information. This bit of tech is to do with manage product catalog. This one's to do with operate item selection, yeah? And so you suddenly sort, say, thousands of tech components that you have today objectively into boxes. And suddenly you can see the world through this prism. And it might be that you only have 50 business processes when you look like that. So the cognitive load goes down very quickly from 2,000 things to 50 things, right? And now the really clever thing is that if you have the notion that bits of tech are owned by particular teams or particular areas in, like domains inside your business, then you'll be able to see things that you might not have been able to see before, like where you have duplication within your organization and where teams are doing the same thing twice, and unique things where no one else in the entire business does this type of thing. So what it gives you is an organized, understandable view of your platform for your product, engineering, delivery, departments to all align on and continually refer to, and you use it and adapt it. And if you build automation around it, as team ownership changes, team names changes, it all, just like this neural network in of multiverse in everything everywhere all at once, you've now got a map of your entire business world, right? You've got a map of your software and you've got a map of your teams. So let's just drill in a little bit and look at this business process model, right? So this is APQC example, and you start off with something like customer experience at the top, which is quite high level. You might sort of say that's like a department level, and then you've got a kind of managed customer relationship, and you might have senior tech management around that, like head ofs or senior tech managers, engineering managers around that. And then at this process level, this business process level, you've got different you've got verb, noun type things like manage customer info, operate basket pricing, process customer purchases. These are all good candidates for microservices, right? So let's go and zoom in and see what this would look like. So here's a kind of classic architecture diagram, which has got the apps at the top, and you've got your API gateway layer in the middle. And you can see the orange dotted lines of the one that we've just zoomed in on. So let's just say that we've gone and sorted our tech into these boxes, so our thousands of components. Each one of these green dots are existing tech that we've aligned. And we can see that it's a service. It's got an HTTP API. It's got an async API. And we've got a couple of examples of things that it does, like get basket, create basket, and async API or messages like basket viewed, basket created, right? And on the left-hand side and right-hand side, we can see there's other services. And they have their own HTTP APIs and their components and their async APIs, right? And all of the apps just call through the API gateway to utilize them, to call the APIs to delight customers, right? So this is great now, yeah? And we can also note that the implementation detail is not necessarily that important to us now. You could have services that are implemented in .NET and some in Java or Go or whatever, right? It's now becoming the HTTP contracts and the async API contracts that we're interested in. So we're now, if you start highlighting from the user flow point of view, we start seeing some really interesting things, because we start seeing the API surface areas of our microservices. And this is great, right? Because now we can take, say, these APIs and we can start building on them, and we can do really clever things like this, where you can start identifying our API products. So again, here's our operate basket pricing that we talked about, and here's the two HTTP APIs plus another one, where we now, taking it back to the original diagram with the describing our platform as a series of user flows, we can now actually start detailing those user flows, because we've got right-sized microservices, and we've got the right microservices, which are based around our business process model. And we're now saying that customer order delivery is just really a set of APIs, which got, maybe some implied order that you have to call this one first on that one, but there's optional ones, and you might call, update basket 100 times. There's no restrictions on that. But this collection of APIs is your customer orders of delivery, and that's your API product. And that's kind of cool. So the next thing you can say is, okay, well, if we've got this customer orders of delivery, then bringing back our orange and our green boxes, we can start saying, well, we can fulfill many whats. We can fulfill customer orders of delivery on our iOS and Android, on our web, our internal product ones. But we can also fulfill customer orders of delivery in a Tesla car or on Twitch infinite number of what's, all fulfilled by this customer order to delivery. Yeah. And another example down the bottom, like partner receives an order, yeah, which was another one that came from the original slides and the original diagram. So you might have 20 times these API products. But then the great thing about this is you take something which is quite hard to quantify, like what is it our platform does and how does it relate to our components and how does this all relate back to the things that the business does. And we've got a way of classifying all this now in a quite neat way. Yeah. So as product and the business comes up with more what's, you can say, oh yeah, we can already do that because we've got our customer orders a delivery API product. Yeah, pretty cool. So how do we sort of drive this forward even better, right? So we end up having to catalog our wonderful APIs. So we just we might even have all these APIs or developing new ones, but we want people to be able to use it. And in order to use it, it needs to have one voice. It needs to have one documentation voice, and it needs to have one experience voice. Yeah. Because if people come along and try and use your API product, and every time they use a different business process or a set of APIs or user journey, and it's a totally different kind of experience, different names, different camel case versus Pascal case versus, different tone to the documentation, it becomes quite jarring. So you need to have this kind of HP API governance over the top, which the general best practice advice is to do it documentation-driven design. So build your contracts first, apply guidelines, adapt guidelines as you go on, and then you bring consistency over time. But you try and do it in a decentralized way so that you don't have some sort of central team that is rubber stamping all of the APIs. You're really trying to sort of develop it across your enterprise or your business, and putting it in the hands of principals and architecture sort of spaces within your departments, right? And then ultimately, what you're doing as you're cataloging and driving these specs out is you've got documentation for your APIs, for both internal, for your app developers, which is great, right? And external. So that's pretty cool and pretty necessary, right? And then the really cool thing is because you've got this business capability model, you can auto-organize all of your APIs by knowing where the components are mapped. So you map all of your API surface areas for free. So developers don't even need to worry about that. They just say, hey, here's an API that I'm developing. It's the product's API component. And your bit of automation says, hey, where does that product API live in the model? And it says manage partner information. And so it just sticks it in that place in the website. So that's pretty cool. So then finally, once you've got all this, you really embrace the fact that you need an API as a product website. So not just something that's bolted on to like some department. This is a real product. It's a real opportunity for your business. And you can really use automation and stuff to drive out those user flows that you've defined, those API products like order, delivery, track an order, receive an order, and then drive down into the next level of detail saying, well, these are all the APIs that are involved in that, right? So there's a lot of sophistication there. You could have like sophisticated UX and design, not the sort of stuff that I've put there, which, I'm no UX designer. But again, you've got teams who own their part of the API. So you're really trying to decentralize this into sort of departments to help maintain this information, whilst the team looks after the Chrome and the automation and maybe the SDKs and stuff. And you've probably got product management that's trying to spot opportunities at this point. And in the future, maybe you've got things like API license and requests. You can think about Zendesk and consulting services to help seed things. It's a great opportunity for your business. But always beware of the competition. I'll put two, obvious competitors for Just Eat. The competition is going to probably have this. And, if you trivialize it and think we don't really need that, we'll just concentrate on our internal product, maybe that's okay for now. But, it's really good to get integrated into your business. And it's good to know what the others are doing, right? Okay, So how do we get to that beautiful ending where Evelyn and Joy embrace at the end of that crazy film? Like how do we make this everything everywhere all at once happen? Also, we talked about identifying your right size microservices. Hopefully, there's a lot of detail there. Then you design your APIs for external use, and you use API governance to help control that. You're identifying your API products and investing in them, and then you're building the best API product website. And so that leads you to your future. And so we end where we started, everything, everywhere, all at once. Thousands of partners and businesses providing customers with delight, extensible product range, everywhere, build once, release everywhere, all at once, system in harmony, scaling, always available. So hopefully that was an interesting talk for you to push forward in your platform. Thank you very much.